You're watching Business Access TV.
Business Access.
Business Access.
Business Access.
Business Access.
You are watching Business Access TV.
Business Access TV.
Serious about business.
Serious about business.
Business Access TV is here at the JEA's Packaging and Labelling Workshop at the Knutsford Court Hotel. I'm your host, Amita Prasad-Webb. Stay tuned for highlights.
I spoke at the Bakers Association last year, and I've often shared this story just to say that when I was going there, I wasn't sure what I was going to speak about, and it came to me, and as small bakeries, we oftentimes compete. And I say small because it was a lot of small bakers there at the Bakers Association. And we have grown up, as I myself have done over the last 25 years, competing with each other. And I shared that we compete with each other because we have a market of less than 3 million people. And that's okay, that's a strategy. Now, in a global market, we have to think differently. We have a world of 7.5 billion people, and that is our market. And just as much as you change your market, you also have to change your strategy. And so our strategy cannot any longer be about competing with each other. We have to learn how to collaborate with each other to build a better industry so that we become world known for what we do in our industry.
We look at things, and what we try and do, we're very critical about us. Very critical. Now, this is not a bad product. It's actually pretty good. This is a really good product in a really awful bag. Then you look at Charlie. Look at that. What I consider a okay product in a really nice package. We had to upgrade the line that we make popcorn on just for the English production, that little bit of extra. We didn't have time. We didn't have time, so we went in and had to buy new scales, a new set of Sheeta scale, 180,000 US, and we bought a new bag maker, another 200,000 US dollars. That is just the wrapping side. That's not the connecting conveyors or anything. What am I saying? You think I just wrap popcorn on that machine? No, I'm wrapping other stuff on that machine. So the rest of my production is getting the benefit of me having bought that new machine. Not that we didn't have those machines before. So this is where this thing drives you. And it's a commitment. And as Michelle said, you can't commit to a Jamaican market and say, this is my market. It's not your market. And you're not going to export everything that you make. I promise you that. You're not going to export it. It's not going to be exportable because you can't compete in that. You can't compete in a market where, for example, if you go to the sandwich biscuits that we make, we're going to get a new wrapping line in about 6 months. We'll be running about 280 a minute. When Nabisco slows down their line in Hanover, they're running about 700 and something a minute. I can't compete with that. And that entire line might have 5 people on it, but that's not the 5 people and I can't compete on prices of ingredients and stuff like that. And Jamaica is not cheap ingredients. And folks, I speak for the baking industry. I don't know about your industry, Steve, man. I don't know about other people's industry. We know about each other's industry. You know, our ingredients are not cheap. Not cheap. How do we compete abroad? It's very simple. You're brutally efficient. And a capital B on the word brutal. If you want to make friends and think wrong business, you have to be tough about it. And then you have to look at the market. So, you know, we were very fortunate. We had the horsepower to go in and do our own distribution in London. It took us 7 years of bleeding red And I think we're about pink right about now. We're not, we're not in the black yet season. Let me tell you something. I mean, and some He-Man money too. I mean, I could have built another bakery what we lost over there. But it was with the price you pay to play. And from my point of view, it is something I want to do for the future of the company. But it's equally important that I have my staff employed all year round. And we are, I think we might be the only bakery in Jamaica. We have a dedicated plant to make bun. It makes nothing else. As a matter of fact, yeah, I could probably make hard-dough. Yeah, I could probably make hard. No, it can't. It can't make hard-dough bread. Yes, it could. It could probably make hard-dough bread. But it's dedicated just to bun. In the years gone by, coming up to Easter, everybody working. After Easter, 2 days a week, something like that. No, 5, 6 days a week. So what has that done for us? What have we made out of export? Exactly nothing. We've made nothing out of export. But what we've done, we've created 46 jobs on a full-time basis. We now have a brand recognition in the UK, which is serving us very, very well. And if for no other reason than we are what we are, we need to be with the Jamaican folks abroad. And for that, I won't apologize. We're in Brooklyn. We have 15,000 square foot of warehouse in Brooklyn. I wish I had the 15,000 square foot of warehouse like that in Kingston, Lord. I'd give my left arm for that. I mean, beautiful warehouse, and that's growing too, but it's going to take time. It's not going to break even anytime soon, which is the price you have to pay to play.
Mr. Hendrickson, talk to us about your presentation today.
I think I try to get across the importance of packaging and a little bit of design work to everything that we manufacture. And I can only speak for us as a manufacturing entity of food. Has to be wrapped, and so we can transport it. It's part of the logistics chain. It's the start of it, actually. And so it's so important because to begin with, you have a design component in packaging because you never get a second chance to make a first impression. And then you now have the in our case, what we call that magic oxygen barrier, UV barrier, which oxygen is not a friend of baked products. And ultraviolet light is sunshine. Doesn't work that well with our products either. As a matter of fact, that really, really destroys a good loaf of bread.
What are some key pointers that National sticks to when deciding on their packaging? Because you have a variety of products on the market.
Well, I think first of all, we try and choose the packaging, the film, or the substrate as we call it in the packaging industry, properly. It's not all the same. It's not a one-size-fits-all situation. I would think that outside of the bread, which is pretty much straight polyethylene, and we actually have, it's treated polyethylene because our polyethylene degrades, it's biodegradable. We did for a while run another type of polyethylene. I'm going to try it again because especially for export, it looks a little better and lasts a little longer. Having said that, we can't hermetically seal bread, which continues to be an issue with us. We'll find a way one day. On the cookies, crackers, well, it depends on the product you're doing and it depends on the type of wrapping that you're doing. If you're doing a vertical wrapping where it comes down like crackers, and crackers are now cheese tricks and things like that, that's one type of film. If you're doing horizontal wrapping, it's a different type of film because the film speed is different. You can run faster speeds with different films. And you might say, well, when you run faster speeds, well, if you're running 200 packs a minute, you're pulling that film along very quickly. If you're running 50 packs a minute, a different speed requirement, and it will stretch and stress on it. So it's not one size fit all. If we go away for our export buns, they're all vacuum packed. They're all nitrogen flushed because our market abroad, is at best 7 days away. Not like Kingston going to Mandeville overnight. It's a different thing, different requirements, and different temperature requirements as we ship it and land it.
Usually, what informs the type of packaging that you use is the technology, the science, and the art of protecting the product. So one of the first considerations for packaging is to protect the product. If you have food, you want it to be fresh. if you have a chemical product, you want something that, so protection of the product is one of the first consideration. So remember, it's the art, it's the technology, and it's the science, right? So you have to look at those aspects for your brand and look at those things related to the product. Now, there are 3 types of packaging. You have primary packaging, which is the thing that the smallest unit of the product goes into. So those biscuit bags, that's a primary package. That's where the smallest unit of the product goes into. You have secondary packaging, which is usually used to amalgamate smaller units. So in the St. Mary's example here, they have a single serve St. Mary package, then you have a 20-pack. That's secondary packaging, right? And then you have the tertiary packaging, which usually relates to shipping and handling bulk quantities. So boxes would fall in those categories. Now remember, I said packaging has to do with the science, the art, and the technology. Now you need to be thinking about all of these steps when you're looking at your different product that you're selling. You're going to look at your primary package. What does your primary package look at like? What's the size? What's the quantity? What's the weight? What do you need for your secondary packaging? If you want a 20-pack, you want a 3-pack, depending on your size, your quantities, and all of that. And for your bulk packaging, you're going to look at, how are you shipping the product? How are they storing the product? And think about those considerations when you're making determinations for those things. Now, what are the objectives of packaging? So I told you that protection is one of the first things that you have to think about when you're choosing packaging material. So how do you protect the product? Is freshness a priority? Is storage a priority? What's a priority for protection? And how do you choose material? So for eggs, for example, clearly, it's something that will break easily. So you want to think for eggs about, what kind of packaging, how do you deliver that to the consumer? But if you notice this example, this person just never put it in a tray. They enhanced the tray by adding elements, aesthetic elements, to the design to appeal to the customer. Right? So while protection is important, you have those aesthetic elements, which is labeling. With enveloped in a cardboard thing and then a label on it to inform the customer about the package, right? Now, beyond physical protection, you have things related to barrier. So freshness for fruits, for example, you'll see people putting different film materials over the food for protection, for if oxygen is a problem, if water is a problem, if air contamination is a problem, you'll have those considerations again. Also, when you have small products like biscuits and stuff like that, you can't sell one biscuit. Well, you can, but it's probably not all of you have to sell like a 3-pack or something like that. So a containment for those amounts also is a consideration. And another big objective is marketing. You have a crowded supermarket shelf, you have competitors, you have things that you have to think about, how to appeal to somebody, how to get somebody to attention. So the marketing aspect is also critical for your packaging. You have to spend a lot of time thinking about how do I differentiate myself from everybody else on the shelf. Now, one of the other things that is critical is security. Mr. Hendrickson talked about tamper seals and stuff like that. So security is another big consideration that you have to think about. Now, I'm going through these because I'm trying to demonstrate to you that it is not a simple process. It's a long process of learning, refining, researching, and then getting to well, I don't know if you ever get to a state where you can just say, okay, and leave it at that, because it's an always evolving process.
How can companies use packaging to build their branding?
Yeah. So packaging is an absolutely important part of any kind of product strategy. One of the things is a lot of people are attracted to design, beautiful designs, whether that is clothing, everything around you in nature is delivered in some kind of package, and people are attracted to that. So one of the first ways is to identify a segment of the population that you're trying to target is through the use of packaging. So what that means is that companies, brands have to spend a lot more time looking at the individual products that they're working with, looking if those products meet the package requirements for the segment that they're trying to get to. You know, if you're trying to target men between over a certain age, if you're targeting women, if you're targeting children, what you're putting the product in means a lot to who will eventually buy the product.
Everyone recognizes excellence in quality. And I have to start at the beginning, so we'll just go quickly through the packaging basics, which is where you have to start with your primary, secondary, and your shipping packages. And as we said, remind you again, it's all about convenience, safety, long shelf life, economy. You know, the different sizes provide the buyers and sellers with suitable options. And it should be a promotional tool. We can use, it helps with our marketing, and the labels provide information, what, where, when. And it also identifies quality, and it implies that warranty that you were speaking about earlier. You know, you might be liable for something if you don't get it right. Professional shots. Whether you're going online or you're going to the market, everyone who produces products needs to have a professional pack shot. It does not have to have coconut trees behind it. It can be just a nice, clean shot like this so that we can see your product. You have to look at these, aren't they beautiful? Clean and clear, and you can't do it on your iPhone, okay? Consumer trends. Right now, we're finding that consumers want a lot more from their products than just a nice looking package or a convenient package. They actually want the brand to entertain them. So it's a big deal now. You need to give them something to enjoy. You realize that, right? That's a serious statement. Less than 3 seconds. How do global trends work? Well, it's a very slow process. You might see an idea that started 10 years ago and then it's just coming to the market now. So there is a very slow shift in trends, but it affects everything about what we do as producers and so on. It affects for the consumer, it's about where we shop, what we buy, and where we get it. So the marketing experts respond to the trends. They listen out to hear what the consumer wants, and that, of course, drives what you make. And it tells us where we fit in the marketplace. Mass leads the way. It's not an individual thing. You get a mass when things move in the market. That is how you know a trend is really happening. It's when everybody's into it. Now, you ever wondered why so many products on the store shelves are so similar? And this is a bit of a conundrum, because even though you want your product to stand out, it still also needs to be somewhat within the standard that everybody else has, because we are all a little bit copycat. So you just want to be the one that shines a little brighter, okay? Who is your customer? Well, you need to know that, because we have our mass markets and we have our niche markets, and you have to know exactly who is out there. You need to know what they like to eat, where they go to the movies, what what they see on Facebook and Pinterest and what turns them on, because you have to know who your consumer is. That comes down to ABCs and so on. This is just a socio-economic way of dividing people up. But the truth is that most of our customers here have some disposable cash, and price is not actually what drives them to buy your product. They have enough money to buy a small item or whatever. We're not selling cars in here, are we? Okay. The millennials are your customer, and they're ethnically mixed, more and more so, and they were born between 78 and 84. Trends. Mintel, I don't know how many of you have ever heard of Mintel. Mintel is the guide, the Bible of people in marketing. That's where you get your information and your marketing intelligence from. They offer some free tips online because it's very expensive to buy the Mintel report, okay? More men are doing the cooking and the grocery shopping. That's just a fact. It's a trend. So if you're responding to that and you're aware of it, it might make some of your decisions different. Well, I've done quite a few presentations, and one of the things that we always find are that people are very reluctant to change their labels. Once they've got a label, they're terrified of making any adjustments to it. And today I really wanted to bring home the fact that refreshing and revamping your label is one of the very important things to do to keep your product really fresh and nice looking.
What are some products, Jamaican products on the market right now that you could think of that you would say have good labeling?
Oh my goodness. Well, I think so. Some of our real original brands, some of them were really very well done, and they stood the test of time, like a Red Stripe or, you know, some of the icons in the market there. And they have changed some of them gradually over time, very subtly. We didn't even notice, but it's what we have to do. We have some, Brand Jamaica itself is extremely strong, and I also recommend it to people that we piggyback on Brand Jamaica and make use of our colors and also the integration with tourism. I think it's not really understood how our first customers overseas, once we break into a crossover market, it's a tourist, someone who would come to Jamaica or has been to Jamaica and wants to relive that experience.
All right, let's say I have a jelly and I want to write and I want to rebrand. What are some steps that I should keep in mind to get the process going?
Well, we always recommend that you do research. And in order to design a label and have a good brand, you can't just get a designer or an artist to do that for you. It requires a team of people, a marketing team, people who understand how to research your competition, how to figure out where you fit in the market, what sort of niche you're in, what your who your consumer is. You need to know all the habits of your consumer. So you definitely need to do research before you jump into a new product.
Talk to me about why did the JEA feel it's important to do a workshop based on packaging? Why no?
Sure. Well, packaging and labeling is the face of your product. I mean, that's the consumer's first interaction with the product. And in the spirit of remaining globally competitive, the JEA really feels that this is important, that persons understand the importance of their package and labeling, as well as the requirements of the specific markets that they may want to break into, whether they're new or existing exporter. It's important to know all those regulations. So the JEA is really committed to staying at the forefront of that. What's new, what's not so new, new regulations, legislations in terms of the new markets. So that's why we found it very important to have this workshop.
What are some major challenges you would say that affect small or medium-sized enterprises in regards to going to export?
Sure, well, just that, the packaging and the labeling, not understanding the requirements, not understanding that it's not good enough to just put a Jamaican label, the flag on the product and say, okay, you know, that's going to do all the work. You really have to put some work into it to not only to appeal to the consumer, but also to ensure that you're following all the regulations. You know, that's very important. So that can be a challenge. And your product will be turned back. You know, if it's sent to the markets and doesn't have the right requirements, it won't be able to enter the country or be sold. So that's important.
One of your attendees just mentioned that she produces castor oil, and they're having a lot of issues with competitors who are non-Jamaicans but are marketing their castor oil as Jamaican. How would you fix a problem like that as a Jamaican castor oil maker?
Sure. So what we're doing, there's a Jamaica Castor Oil Association, right? So we are working closely with JAMPRO to ensure that we formalize that industry, ensure that we get a geographical indicator for our black castor oil, because really the Jamaica black castor oil is to the world what our coffee is to the world, you know. So it's really about formalizing the industry, ensuring that, you know, we maintain the standards and have the right packaging and labeling requirements so that we can get the product out there.
In Mr. Hendrickson's presentation, he was speaking to, I guess, you having to buy so much print material and then you may having to change that, and how expensive that can be. What would you say is your advice to those smaller companies that may not have that money to fork out to keep changing out their packaging?
Well, I would say if you're not a part of the JEA, to come and join us, because that's part of what we do as an association. We help to keep our members up to date with all the latest requirements, changes, regulations. And so we would really be able to handhold them through that process. Outside of joining the association, do your research. You know, our presenters mentioned utilizing Google, something as simple as Google. You know, it is a research tool. So you go on and do all the research that you can do for yourself and tap into the different agencies, the JEA, the BSJ, JAMPRO, you know, to get all the requirements that you may need.
And that's it from us here. I'm your host, Amita Prasad Webb, and you're watching Business Access TV, serious about business.